Can I make some criticism
Of me?
of of communication level
Okay.
in terms of how to improve? Or not?
Of course. Anything.
Because then you will be using scissors.
We will. Trust me. Hello and welcome to Pacific Dialogue. I'm your host, Yun Yun. Today we're focused on Central Asia and its international role as a bridge between the East and the West. And we're happy to be joined by Mr. Jumad Altarbayev, former Prime Minister of Kyrgyzstan, who is currently visiting China. Prime Minister Altarbayev is a seasoned diplomat and knows the region and the policy game. Prime Minister Altarbayev, thank you for joining us. I noticed you have a theory called 3 Cs. And could you please elaborate on that?
It's not my theory, but it's my kind of thoughts that the modern world is governed by 3 Cs, which means cooperation, competition, and communication. So everybody among human beings and nations, countries, should take this into account to be good competitive, to be good cooperator, and to be able to communicate. And the same is valid for nations. And every time it would be important to analyze how to improve certain qualities of individual as well as big groups of people, and how to improve those Cs.
Mm-hmm. If you use that as a measurement, because you're a physicist, right? How would you evaluate China on 3 Cs?
Okay, just my personal point of view is that China is the best country in the world in first 2 Cs. The real reason of success of China in economic development, improvement of social life, is competition. Very few understand it. There are some theories that it's unfair subsidies, whatever, pushing for hard work, for make people work too hard, as everything is nothing. What is the main success of China is fierce competition everywhere, especially in business, not only, but also in academia, as well as in decision-making process. I can make many examples that competition is here. Cooperation, another excellent example, especially after launching of Belt and Road Initiative. Belt and Road Initiative, which President Xi Jinping launched in Central Asia, in the city of Astana, in my region, now get tremendous success. So his idea was to make Silk Road cooperation, but suddenly all the world wanted to be with China on cooperation. Now more than 150 countries and maybe dozens of international organizations joined Chinese invitation to cooperate. This is never in the history you get this type of result. Then we're going to last C, which is communication. And here I think a lot of potential to be efficient, to tell to outside world and to the local communities what to do better, especially with outside world, especially that you're focusing on international communication in English, very important. There's a lot of space for being better. That is exactly what your president also writing in his books.
When mentioning Belt Road Initiative, is Kyrgyzstan involved in any of the projects that were, built?
Numerous projects.
Could you please name some?
Numerous projects. Actually, it was me, when I was in office, who signed our membership in Belt and Road Initiative in 2014.
And thank you, we really appreciate.
Every realistic person would do the same. And let's make a lot of projects out of it. And that is what's going on. With my country, so many projects. We have to sit another hour before I will name all of them. We are neighbors. We cannot escape. We must be together. Success of China equal to success of my country and my region. Especially when I see policies going on in summits, in all different meetings, people to people. We now have, instead of one flight, 4 flights to China, between Bishkek and China, 4 flights. Last 2 years, amount of flights between China and Central Asia doubled. Full planes of people, tourists, business people, government people, meeting each other, enjoying communication, cooperation, and competition.
You know, there is a China-Europe freight train which goes through Central Asia, and do you see any tangible benefits bringing to Central Asian countries?
I name all this development as a Eurasian rail revolution. In the book which I wrote, I devoted a lot of time in debating what's going on. For Central Asia, this is absolutely remarkable development, because suddenly, only 12 years ago, we were landlocked. Now we're land connected. We became bridge. So we're going back to the romantic, nostalgic times of Great Silk Road, when camels and horses delivered Chinese silk and porcelain to Europe and India, and bringing back gold and silver. So, and we were hub, because everything trade through Central Asia. And being hub, we became the most prosperous part of the world. If you look to the books, you can see that Central Asia was center of absolutely excellence and this. So now, why I'm a little bit emotional? Because we're restoring it through cooperation with Chinese government and businesses and Europeans, being bridge. We're coming back to 1,000 years ago with a new quality. And what's happening this year is that rail connection not only quicker, because you can deliver goods from spot to spot in 12 days instead of 2-3 months, by sea, quicker, environmentally friendlier, and cheaper. So this is a very exciting time for us. Do you know that in landlocked countries around the world, only 7% of population live? In landlocked countries, people don't stay. 93% of countries have access to the sea. Why? Because trade, jobs, education, healthcare, everything related to the trades. And we are so little amount of people because it's difficult to make trades. If you produce anything and you have a lot of transportation cost, you cannot sell the product. So what's happening now is that we become competitive again by lowering down the transportation cost and transfer ourselves from landlocked to land connected. Last week it was the 70th anniversary of Xinjiang.
Exactly.
Okay?
I just want to mention
It's booming.
Xinjiang.
It's booming. Why? Because railway revolution. Tremendous success, which people didn't see 12 years ago. It was just landlocked. Who will do factories there if you need to ship it straight to Qingdao or whatever, Ningbo? Why? Now all these coastal provinces ship goods to Xi'an. Xi'an again became hub of Chinese trade because trains make things different. Your internal provinces will be growing much quicker than others. You will see it.
Well, President Xi proposed the Global Governance Initiative, which he stated should be committed to multilateralism, rule of law, sovereign equality, people-centered practices, and results-oriented. But right now, the world is far from safe and sound. And there are a lot of wars and conflicts going on. And what do you think is urgently needed to promote peace and development?
Yes, absolutely right. We clearly see the process of deglobalization. When China started its reforms, 1979, and then world was open space, free trade, exchange, whatever, because the dominant powers at that time, the West, US plus Europe, they didn't fear that global South can be competition to them. But suddenly, what's happening is that the barriers start to be erected against free, fair trade, exchange, even information stopped to move anywhere. So deglobalization harming the world. Because again, if you go back to the 3 C's, they harming competition, harming cooperation. So world became a camp of different entities, which is not right. And something have to be done in bringing multilateralism back to good times. Again, to stimulate competition and cooperation and communication. And that is, I believe, is the idea behind global governance initiative. So we have multilateral institutions like UN, like others, WTO, World Trade Organization, which are not performing well because those rules which were established, they just ignored by some. So the idea is to get back to all good times, to make globalization more kind of raised in the world. And that is idea to revitalize globalization, agreed upon competition, cooperation, communication. It was prominently broadcasted in his statement by President Xi Jinping, and many who made remarks, among them President Putin, they endorsed his idea, which is really remarkable. Yeah? So now, so-called Global South say, okay, why don't we do things together in shaking up what's get wrong in that respect? And the fact that this came from China, you have to be honest and say, we are big, and we are global, but what kind of leader you want to be? Not dominating, not insisting about supply-driven approach, but driven by demand from others to make common decisions, which they later will be appreciated by others, establishing rules of the game, and then to follow it both on soul and in essence.